the Canik TP9SF Elite. Let's check it out. Ever since Century Arms started importing the Canik TP9 pistols, they've really hit the American shooters by storm because of the price, but the price is not what's really kept this alive. It's been the quality. You know, the TP9 immediately was a really quality pistol. There were some things about it though with the decocker on the top that some people didn't like, and led Canik to change that over a couple of different models. And over the past few years, they have continued to add new models, the SA, the SF, the V2, and improvements with every pistol. So we're going to check out all the features and see if the improvements that are on this pistol add up to match the improvements that have gone through the Canik series. One of the things about this pistol in particular is it is the smallest of the line. The TP9SF Elite is a little shorter in the grip and in the slide, and we're going to compare it to the standard SF in just a minute. But first thing we're going to do is to go ahead and make sure the gun isn't loaded, remove the magazine, check the chamber, and it is empty. Now the magazine capacity on the Elite has been reduced to 15 rounds. These are Metgar magazines, and they're good metal, high quality magazines. They do have a military type finish on here, military grade finish, that's a little bit matte compared to the original kind of gloss finish. And really Metgar's kind of gone to that anyway. And then we have the witness holes in the back. These magazines, they just function great. And Metgar makes about 80% of all magazines for your standard pistols. But one of the big differences is of course the size. And we want to check it with the standard SF. And we're going to just go ahead and put it on top. As you can see, the grip is shorter. It comes down a little bit longer on the standard SF. This does hold though 18 rounds in the magazine. But this allows it to be carried concealed easier. The shorter the grip is the most important element with concealed carry. As far as the slide, here you can see it's just a little under a ½ inch difference from the barrel length. The barrel in the Elite is 4.2 inches, while in the standard SF it's 4.46 inches. So that just gives you a little bit of difference, but it makes a world of difference in the handling of these pistols. Also, the finish on here is a Cerakote finish, and it is what they call the tungsten, and that's all they're offering it in right now, but it really gives a really good look. Other features that differentiate this from the standard SF are the front cocking serrations. There is a tungsten Cerakote finish on this one. I believe underneath it has a phosphate finish, and then they apply the Cerakote, which allows that Cerakote to really hold well. One of the things you'll notice, of course, is this little red in the trigger tab, and that's, of course, your standard trigger safety, and just like, you know, the Glock and a lot of other striker fire pistols. But one of the things about this trigger is it is incredibly smooth. And again, I'm going to go ahead and just remove the magazine. We'll double check. We're going to check the trigger pull on this pistol. It is what they call a short reach trigger. So while I could get a lot farther out, even with my medium-sized hands, it really brings this in. The trigger, very smooth, and then it comes about right here. A very nice, crisp snap. Reset, boom. I mean, that is amazing. Now let's check trigger pull with the Lyman trigger gauge. 4 pounds, 11.8 ounces. 4 pounds, 11.9 ounces. 4 pounds, 8.7 ounces. does have the standard polymer frame with the texturing here, which is a light texturing but still very grippable. And then on the back strap and front strap, we have the small little pyramids and squares to give you a little more gripping surface here in between the two. The magazine release is metal, and it's a really solid positive lockup. It throws the magazines out, and of course with the Metgar metal, that really assists with that. There is a small lip on the magazine and this small little cutout to make it really easy to be able to extract those mags if you have a double feed and you need to get rid of them. The mag release can be switched to the other side. Now there is the Canik TP9SF Elite S, which actually has the paddles that come down through here. I don't know that if they can be fitted afterwards, but this is just the standard, so it has the standard mag release. It's funny, a lot of guys, especially American shooters, they're so used to this mag release right here, but I've really gotten used to the paddle design, and I really like that, which is ambidextrous immediately. Another ambidextrous feature is the slide lock, and it's a lot larger than the original. It is more of a lever, but it's very closely fitted to the frame. And then here on the other side. So this pistol can be made for left or right-handed shooters very easily. And not only that, the takedown levers are also somewhat ambidextrous, and we'll look at that in a minute, but right here are your takedown levers. Now, one of the things too that's a big upgrade with this pistol are the sights, and these are actually Warren Tactical sights with a fiber optic front. Here you can see Warren Tactical logo right here. These can be drifted, and they also can be used as a shelf for one-handed reloads. It does have a little bit of a curve here, but I was able to get it on my belt pretty easily. And then of course the fiber optic in the front, and there are replacement rods included to be able to change this out even to green and I believe amber. But these sights really show up well. You have your black outline at the back, and then you have your fiber optic at the front. Now here we have our cock striker indicator. Doesn't mean that the gun's loaded, it just means that the gun has been cocked. And then with the pull of the trigger, it disappears. One of the things about this hole right here is some people don't like. That could be a possible place for egress of like sand and dirt and dust. But that is one of the things, and there are a lot of other pistols that have the cock striker indicator. But we also have right here a loaded chamber indicator. Here I'm taking a dummy round, and as you can see right here we have just a little bit of a rise. It's a little tactile where you can feel it, but it's not obtrusive, and I like that. It does have a Picatinny rail right here for accessories, and it has 3 slots just like the standard SF. Here you can see the cocking serrations on the front. Canik is actually laser engraved into the metal, and then of course the cocking serrations here. Here on the other side, TP9SF Elite, Century Arms, and the logo right here. I think this is a fairly large, long logo, but to be honest with you, I feel like it's pretty tastefully done overall. Of course, the top of the slide is smooth. There are no serrations. Some of the older models actually had serrations that went all the way down. But with this matte finish, it doesn't have a lot of glare. And then of course with that black sight, it just really shows up well. There are 2 options for interchangeable backstrap, and there's even a tool to be able to remove this if you don't have a punch. Fit and finish, very nice. The color is, I really like that tungsten color. Just kind of almost a sniper gray, and it really complements that black frame. So I brought out my Glock 19 to show just really the comparison between the two. As far as the grip size, they're actually identical. The Canik does kind of have a little bit of a different angle, but pretty much the same. Now on the back of the Glock receiver there is a small lip, so I'm going to add that in, but you can see it's still about a ½ inch difference. I think the barrel of the Glock is 4 inches, whereas on the TP9 Elite is 4.2 inches, so a very small difference there, but definitely a little bit more length with the Canik slide. And here you can see the difference in the slide height for your bore axis, and you're getting a little bit higher bore axis with the Canik. and a little bit of width increase. The Glock is, I think, 1.1 inches, and while the Canik is 1.3 inches. And both have a magazine capacity of 15-in-1. Your price on your Glock, if you're going with the Gen 3, typically runs close to the $500 range. Gen 4, you can go up to $525 to $550. Again, with the Canik, we're looking at about $400. So about $100 to $150 difference for the Canik. And that's one of the big appeals of the Canik, is that it has really great quality, but the price is really cheaper. Now, the Glock, of course, is a known advantage of just being reliable with a long track record. And, you know, that's for you to decide. And I want to thank Freedom Munitions for supplying the 9mm full metal jacket ammunition. This is their new manufactured stuff. And then also the Pro Match, which is, this is jacketed hollow point self-defense match grade ammunition. Good, very good quality ammo. Of course, you can get the remanufactured ammo from Freedom Munitions as well. And they also offer a 5% Such discount when you order your ammo, which is always a good thing. Now, with the standard TP9 series, the magazines were 18-in-1. With the new Canik TP9SF Elite, it's a little bit smaller, a little more compact, and you have 15 rounds in the magazine. But we're going to go ahead and use the standard mags just to make sure they function. Didn't have my standard target stand down here, so just painted a little dot here on the steel. One thing about steel is it's a minimum of 10 yards with a handgun. So we got 10 yards, just a complete 15 rounds, just right in this group. It's just really easy to shoot this gun. The trigger is so good. And this was using the Pro Match from Freedom Munitions, 124 grain. Good shooting stuff, and obviously very accurate. And this is shootsteel.com. Canik has continued to just improve. I mean, they listen to the guys that buy these guns, and they respond. And, you know, they went from the decocker on the top, which that was a lot of stir for some people, to the SF, which was an excellent striker fire handgun. And now with the Elite, this, with it being smaller, with that trigger. Honestly, I've never shot a trigger that wasn't a custom trigger this smooth. I mean, it is just so smooth. The SF was already a great trigger, but this even removed some of the creep from that. So that really allows for really good accuracy. And as we've seen, all 15 rounds in just one solid bunch. And these sights are great. I mean, you got that fiber optic at the front, the black outline at the back, just makes it a really good sight picture. Really easy to keep right on target and to find that front post, which is important. The ergonomics of the handgun is top notch. You know, you can lay this, in fact, I've done it a number of times, had it out on the table with my VP9 to HK, and it would take me a minute to really look at it to tell which one was which. So a lot of quality goes into finishing these guns. Of course, this is with the this gunmetal gray color, which is really nice, a good complement to the pistol, but with the black or whatever color you choose. But the gun just shot flat, shot smooth, just totally enjoyed shooting this gun. I can't really say anything negative about it because I've dealt with the TP9s all the way from the beginning. The original TP9 all the way up to this one. And guys, even though there were some concerns with a few things here and there, the pistol, the base pistol, was already just a great pistol right out of the box. The supplied holster is actually pretty good. It is kind of Serpa-esque with the little finger lock here. Pull it out, locks in with a good positive snap. A good solid holster. And until you decide to get something a little different, if you ever decide to, but this is a lot better than a lot of holsters that I've seen, standalone holsters. Now we're going to disassemble the firearm, remove your magazine, double check to make sure the gun is unloaded. There's a little bit of difference in disassembly between this and the standard SF, and we'll look at that as we break it down. First thing, of course, is to pull the trigger to disengage your striker. Pull back on the slide about 1/4 inch and pull down on these two tabs on either side. Now the pistol actually comes out about 1/2 inch, and then you just lift it up, and we'll talk about that when we reassemble. And then, of course, recoil spring and guide rod, and your barrel. And this is all you have to do to field strip the pistol. One of the things I want to talk about first is the barrel. Again, it is 4.2 inches. It is what they call the machine match cut barrel, which is rated for 60,000 rounds of barrel life, which is incredible. They are cold hammer forged, so that also increases the life. One thing I noticed right up front was that the feed ramp has been highly polished. It does have the flat recoil spring with a steel guide rod. Now the frame is pretty much identical to the TP9SF, except the trigger is a little different. Even the frame is the same as the SF model. It's just that the slide is a little shorter on the Elite, but your grip is definitely shorter. Reassembly in reverse order. Place in your barrel, your recoil spring and guide rod. Now one thing I want you to note is that your ejector is going to butt up to your back slide plate. So when we reassemble this, we have to do it a little differently. Now, so instead of bringing your slide to the front of the frame, to get past the ejector, this cutout, you just take your rail and lower it and then just bring it back. And that's all you have to do. A little bit different. Of course, check, make sure it functions. A little bit different, but not really that difficult. Now here we have the box with the Canik logo on here. Close foam padding, very nice, very well organized. You do get the holster with the gun, which is typical for the Canik. Typically this part of the holster is over the gun, and then right up top here you have your paddle. But I went ahead, I've assembled this and I didn't want to disassemble it. Of course you get your 2 magazines, you get your back strap right here, you get a magazine loader, you get your lock. And then you get a certified that has been inspected around the trigger guard. And then right here is your fiber-optic rod, and it also with the tool to be able to interchange your back strap. The fiber-optic rods are right here, and they're red and then they're green. In the top we have our owner's manual, very well done. A lot of details about cleaning and things like that. And then also we have a cleaning brush and a cleaning rod. And that's really nice to have, especially instead of having to buy a separate kit. There's also a warning about how to reassemble the firearm, and just like we've shown. And then there's a registration card. Now you need to fill out your registration card for the lifetime warranty that are on these pistols, which makes that really nice. It does have the Canik logo right here, and of course these are made in Turkey. And there's been a lot of controversy about that. I know when I did my SF video there was some controversy about these being made in Turkey, and at the time there was a lot of talk about Turkey supporting ISIS. But now one of the things about Turkey is that they are a NATO ally. Canik makes the firearms for the Turkish military, so they do make mil-spec firearms. And they are ISO 9000 rated, which means not necessarily a quality rating, but that their processes for what they do are really strictly adhered to. And that means a lot. And I'm going to tell you guys, from all the experience I've had with the Canik pistol and anything I've seen as far as the talk about these pistols has been nothing but excellent. So one of the things I want you to realize about, firearms that have been imported is that when these guns come into the country, yeah, they're produced in another country, but then they're shipped here. The importer sells them to a distributor. There's money being made there. The distributor sells them to a gun shop. There's money being made there. The gun shop sells it to the consumer. And there's money being made there, and people are buying ammunition and they're shooting it. And one thing about this pistol is it's a very reasonably priced pistol. In fact, I'm going to get a little bit ahead of myself, and the retail on this on Century Arms is like $4.59, but the street price is going to come in at about $3.99, give or take, according to where you buy it. So for $400, getting all these different features is really a great deal. The original SF, though, you can find those for about $3.50, but this has a lot of upgrades over the standard SF. As far as pros and cons of the pistol, there are just a lot of good pros. The price, the quality, the reliability so far with all the different reviews and write-ups and forums. I mean, the TP9 has been a great pistol, and I think with the TP9SF Elite, it's really moved into a different realm, making it a little smaller. And again, I'm hoping that they'll make this a little bit even smaller for really full-on concealed carry option. Now, as far as the cons go, yes, it is imported from Turkey, which it's still an excellent pistol. And that's one of the things that, you know, you got to be careful of. A lot of people get really political. And guys, this is a gun review, and it's a gun review channel. It's not about politics. And this has just been an exceptional pistol. I really can't give you any negatives, because really they're just, other than if you just don't like that fact, it's a great little pistol. And guys, don't just take my word for it. Look at other reviews that are out there. Yes, this is going to be one of the first. I think there's a couple of initial reviews out there about these pistols. But you can look a lot of different sources to substantiate what I've said, pretty much. And definitely, the big thing about this channel is to bring to you different firearms and different things. And a lot of you purchase that. I take that very seriously. And so if there was something about this pistol that I thought was not up to par, I have to show it to you, because it's my reputation. But again, go look at the other channels, look what other people are saying, and you'll find that, you know, I want to give accurate information. And if I don't, you're going to find out soon enough. And I do want to thank Century Arms for sending this pistol. These have just gotten through customs. They were held up for a while, and these should be hitting your local gun shops coming up very soon. One place that I know that you can get, not necessarily the Elite yet, but the SF and most of your Canics, is AIM Surplus. And I buy a lot from those guys, and I just want to give them a plug, because I think that's a great source for the Canik line. If you really just want a really good handgun that'll function, and for a very reasonable price, but yet perform like the premium line pistols that are on the market, the Canik TP9SF and then the Elite are great choices. Great day of shooting, 250 rounds through my new Canik TP9SF Elite. Thumbs way up, Century Arms. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America, long live the Republic. On the Canik TP9 Elite, and on the Canik and the Glock. And I'm really excited about getting this pistol out to the range. Oh, I'm here at the range. Improvements that have been made with the TP Canik on the Elite is because it just makes it a really smooth trigger. And is that what I want to get into already? You know, the Canik is typical. The Canik, and then bring back your slide about 1/4 of an inch and pull down on these two tabs, and then it just comes right off. Whoops. Cut out, and we're going to get past our what we're going to do is get past our extractor.